I tell you about the big issues, and then statistics, the media, and these professionals admit that I'm right, and then they all refuse to do their jobs. They all want to spin a yarn. They all want to pretend that I'm crazy when I know my shit better than they do, son. Here in the United States, we murder systemically those who are different, those who do not fit a particular mold. To all those from the cookie mold, I will never be a moldy cookie. There's a lot of people who are dead right now. They shouldn't be. And the primary reason is cowardice and laziness. Cowardice and laziness. You're afraid of what other people think? Oh yeah, and you want to get paid for doing nothing. Nothing. Y'all got your ideas in your head that this is just a party out here. Like I'm out here banging cheap prostitutes and doing free drugs and that ain't it. People are dying out here wholesale. I told you about the missing women of Hardin, Montana. It took over a year for the major media to even try picking up that situation. It's a Native American hotspot for violence, for drugs, and primarily missing people. And it is so close to Billings. I exposed that place 10 months before Selena Not Afraid disappeared. Nearly a year and a half before the news acknowledged it as a hotbed for missing, murdered Indigenous peoples. That was a full year before the federal government decided to admit it. And yeah, it's just another one of those situations where my words weren't heard. Like when I told y'all about the drugs that they're injecting into homeless people. Ketamine, Haldol, Ativan. I'll let you know what their side effects are. But you don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear that the drugs that they're putting into homeless people are making these homeless people temporarily nuts. For some of them, it ain't temporary. I told people about the abuse in the system growing up. How you were expected to be you didn't get to act like the other kids. You had to be a good little soldier. You asked permission before leaving or entering a room. At Mount St. Vincent's home, I was there when I was about 7. My job was as a dishwasher. Do I consider that against child labor laws, making kids wash their own dishes? Well, I didn't just wash my dishes. I washed the dishes for everybody in the facility, with the assistance of modern machinery. Washing the dishes wasn't the issue there. It was getting molested that was the issue. It was being raped that was the issue. It was being beaten up by other kids in front of a priest, sorry. You don't tell on people. That's the moral of the story. The missing women of Hardin, Montana. I told you about that 10 months before anybody gave a shit. What really got people to start looking? Well, when Selena Not Afraid disappeared, there were over 14,000 views of that Missing Women of Hardin, Montana video. I told you about Officer Waylon Lolatai. You didn't listen, and he continued, and he ended up on the news. You just wouldn't fucking listen. Kind of like you wouldn't listen to me when I said, hey, someone that I know is probably gonna freeze to death tomorrow. It was the day before Benjamin Harvey froze to death. Boulder, Colorado, and it's only gotten worse. People tell me here in Tillamook, oh, Tillamook's especially bad. People tell me in Chapel is especially bad. No. The whole country is especially bad. Those racist old assholes are still in power nationwide. But not only that, it isn't just black people they hate. It's not just brown people they hate. These people are greedy. They hate anybody poor. You'd think that, wouldn't you? No. That's not actually the situation. They don't hate us. We are where they get all of their money from. It's in their best interest for us to not know our rights and not be afforded our rights. Just because you know your rights doesn't mean that you will be afforded them. You get to see how owning property is what really matters. The sundown laws, the black codes. You don't have a place of your own, but how dare you stay anywhere else? You ain't got the money for a place of your own, so you're having to rent a room from, well, frankly, a lot of people who are fucking nuts. A lot of people who have ideas about the world that come from being sheltered from it. Being in a house, you are sheltered from the way the police really are. See, here's the two things that you have yet to flip over. See, there's a lot of places I exposed. Clearview Behavioral Health, I exposed. Later on, they were shut down. I exposed the situation at the Lincoln Prison, and you get to see how many individuals from that have been taken down. I exposed the situations, and I told the truth about them. And every time one of these places ends up in the news for doing what I told you what they were doing, god damn it. I told you what they were doing. But you don't want to hear it from me. You want to hear it from the news, even though they spin a yarn about it that just ain't true. It's not drugs and mental illness that are the problem. The problem is that predators look for drugs and mental illness in their prey because nobody's going to listen to them. No one is going to listen to them. Y'all look up the death of Henny Scott. How about Selena Not Afraid? I do my best to make sure that I expose it by whatever means necessary. Harley Richmond, while I was staying at Dallas, I had to try to keep their names hush-hush, but I always spoke up about the situations. So all a person has to do is go back on my timeline here on YouTube or back on my timeline on Facebook, and you can see what was happening at the time. I exposed the drug use where the drugs are actually being used. I exposed the human trafficking. How many of you turn off your ears as soon as you hear that it's someone who might be on drugs? Oh, they're not worth searching for. Probably just some junkie out looking for a fix. That's not the case. I tell you all about these situations where both men and women have to do drugs to stay up at night because of sundown laws. You're not allowed to urban camp, so you have to travel miles and miles and miles with a backpack on your back to get to the same services that most people can drive to in 5 minutes or less. You're talking about 6 to 8 hour walks because you're carrying a backpack. It's got everything in it that is meant to save your life. But it's also got to carry everything that's potentially your future. You got to keep yourself well groomed and good looking. And I tried to explain to y'all how important looks are in your decision making, how you are sexist and biased, and just because you won't admit it doesn't mean it's not true. Look at the way that you talk to a woman who needs help versus the way that they talk to you. I've been exposing how horrible men are treated, how there are women hate groups whose only goal in life is to destroy men's lives. Women know all they have to do is tell one of the 3 lies, and it destroys a man's entire life. I've been showing you that the most likely to be killed by any group are the homeless and the disabled, and that the primary people being killed are men. At a 5-to-1 ratio. I've been exposing how an educator who is a male who gets busted watching stuff on the internet at school, he gets an average of 16 years. How if a female teacher, educator, has sex with a student, she serves only 8 months on average. If a male has sex with a student, he serves 40 years on average. 8 months versus 40 years. Meanwhile, we've had, 16 now, female teachers. 16 female teachers busted this year having sex with students. 16 of them. I've heard a lot of people say they won't trust a man who's a teacher. That's what female predators count on. They know you're not looking at them, you're looking at the men. You don't care that women are 5 times more likely to beat on their children than men. But you've taught girls differently, haven't you? You've taught men they have to protect women and children. It's never okay to hit a girl. But you've taught girls they can hit a man once, and he's not allowed to hit you back. Some girls think that resets every 30 seconds or less. I've been exposing how the term mentally ill is used as a double-edged sword. When they want mentally ill to mean that you're schizophrenic and dangerous, they'll use it that way, and their tone shows the way they're using it, as well as the context. But then, when they want to get away with it, it's, oh, well, I have a mental illness. I have a mental illness. And I've been showing you through all of this how autism is the forefront of this. Because Autism Speaks destroyed all scientific knowledge that had been brought up to date up until that point. Up until 2005, the mid to late 90s, on up to 2005, we had a scientific community and a medical community that was starting to work together with PTSD victims, those of us with autism. And they were helping us, and then Autism Speaks spent a bunch of money to slander us all and make us out to be demons and idiots who don't know what the fuck is going on, that we're violent monsters. If you speak up on Autism Speaks about how they treat us, we get the laughy faces and the ha-ha-ha's and the... These are out of people who are supposed to be the loved ones of autistic people. People who care about autistic people, who have autistic children, autistic brothers, cousins, autistic family members. And for those of us who are high-functioning autistic people who are completely shut out when it comes to having a voice, we're abused in the same way as a low-functioning autistic person. Our voices don't matter. You can hear literally hundreds of people on my channel not hearing a word I'm saying. They just talk over me. Even if it seems like they're listening. At the end of it, they do the same thing. The same performance and actions that show that they weren't listening to begin with. Many of them just simply got bored. Let's see if there's enough charge to start my car and drive to the library. It's Monday. My key. This ASD feller, you can see on this site how the majority of the autistic people on there who are typing want their lives to be over. The majority of them. The majority of them. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of us. You have two modes when it comes to talking to us. You either talk to us like we're retarded puppy dogs. Aw, poor thing, I'm sorry. Here's some kibble. Or it's the talking down at us like we're bad dogs. How dare you tell the truth, Sean? I fed you kibble. I fed you kibble. Bad dog. Friggin' Farbig nougat. Also, while I'm up at the library, I can probably fly a sign for a few minutes. Just long enough to get something to eat. A lot of y'all are mean to homeless people, just because they're easy to blame for everything. A lot of y'all will listen until you find out the person is homeless, and then you say, oh, there's nothing I can do. That's bullshit. You can speak out. Something that we are not allowed to do. If we try, we're harmed. See, the secret is to do so together. There's lots of people who make names, but they tried to turn stuff in, but they have no proof of it. They didn't try going in with someone else. They didn't bother to record it. And of course, they may tell me one thing after the fact, but when they're angry with me for telling the truth, they may change the words just enough to try to justify their sins. I didn't make any of these people do the horrible things they did. Any of them. And I will not be held responsible for the sins of others. I didn't commit their sins, they did. However, I'm willing to. Just because I don't, and just because I won't, doesn't mean I'm not willing. It all depends on the situation. If people would do something about my predators, maybe I could trust them, maybe I could believe them, or at least try to. But as it stands now, people are just too selfish. They don't care that it's happening to others as long as it's not happening to them, and then they want to whine when it happens to them. Well, guess what, dummy? That's what you get for looking away and being a sissy. Right now, you're afraid of little repercussions, but we have seen from the 1930s forward that when you ignore the little things, it becomes much bigger things, and now we have much bigger consequences. And the people who are the most into trying to make it a better world are the autistic folks, specifically people with Asperger's, high-functioning autism. Because we get all of the hell faced by minorities. Then we get forced into homelessness and endure even more hell. Those of us who are men have to endure far more of it. Just look at the police interactions. 96% of those killed by police are men. 61% of those killed by police last year were homeless. 51% of those killed by police last year were disabled. Only 22% of those were black. Sorry, 24%. I say only because, well, the autistic community is far, far smaller than the black community in the United States. The homeless community is far, far smaller than the black community in the United States. You're slightly less likely as a male who is white to be shot than being a male who is black. The reason for this is most of those killed by police are poor. The majority of them are homeless. The disabled population. Same size as the black population. And they account for well over double the number of people killed by police every year. They can talk about police brutality, yet you ignore us. We only exist as a statistic, but you never bring up any of our actual causes. That's the things that Samuel Leon Lawrence report had to deal with once with a black man in a house. The Zayde Atkinson had to deal with once with a black man in a house. Myself and many of my friends have had to deal with over and over and over again, and we're not allowed to be afraid. We don't have a house to hide behind, a family to hide behind. We don't have a racist group like BLM backing us up. Racism against whites has absolutely been a problem my entire life. Yet I, as a white person, am expected to always lay down whatever I am doing to fight for black people because they won't shut the fuck up about how I'm not doing enough. If I don't do more, I'm a horrible fucking person. Well, how many of these fucking black people have lifted a goddamn finger to help me? How many of these black people have been blatantly fucking racist, specifically fucking towards me, while bitching that I am not doing enough to stop racism? That I don't care enough, that I haven't given enough, no matter how much I give. I'm tired of each of these groups bickering and going at each other's throats. When you got a black rape victim and a white rape victim, and they were both raped by the same fucking cop, stands to reason both of you fucking dipshits should work together to put that fucking cop away. Not be selfish and try to just get money out of it. We have the Second Amendment for a reason. It's so we can defend ourselves against tyrants. And that's exactly what's happening here. The American people are tyrants to their own people. So you goddamn right I speak up. Someone has to. I'm almost out of gas. Hopefully. The guy next to me is pulling out, and I want his parks in the shade. How do people do things the way that they do? I park in the shade because I live in my car. It comes an oven. There's worse ways to go than dehydration. That is a long, slow, ugly death. When I was in Virginia visiting Natalie and her sister in 2016, I got severely dehydrated there on my birthday. I also had a broken phone and a broken car. Those are things I didn't choose, they just happened. I understand that life does happen, but if it does happen, the story you're telling me is true. You shouldn't be expecting me to hide it. No matter what, I will never be considered a human being to your society, and neither will any of the rest of us. We'll always be your established retards to blame. We get to see now how morality in this country has slipped down to nothing. Nobody cares about their neighbor. Half of you don't even know your neighbor's fucking name. You don't even know his name. Or hers. You don't have barbecues. You don't nothing. Y'all hide in your houses like scared little rabbits. And then you blame everything on the people who can't hide in their houses like scared little rabbits.